And then there's another piece to consider, which is girls have socio-emotional development that is very common and significantly different to the fact that they're very relationally connected. Relationships are really important. So for girls, and Joanne Deek sort of described this as the Baskin-Robbins stages of social development. And so when they're really, really little, as with other kids, they develop that self-awareness, that I am different from my parents, my peers, etc. And then they get into parallel play, where they're not necessarily interested in playing with others, but they play, if somebody else plays with a teddy bear a certain way, they'll play with it a certain way. Not necessarily interacting, but parallel playing. And then they get into interactive play, where they start to learn in a very clumsy way what happens when you're kind and share, what happens when you don't share or call names. So these are the early stages of what social interactions look like and what the repercussions are. And then it gets into the Baskin-Robbins years. The transitory friendships, this is a stage where they're like wired to try out every flavors. How do you know what you like until you try them out all, right? So this is when they don't seem to have a certain particular group of friends. Their friendship circles seem to change really suddenly and quickly and without any reasoning. And even all sorts of differences are looked at with curiosity rather than disgust or dislike. Now it goes into friendship clusters. Maybe you decide you really like the flavors that have nuts in it. Butter pecan, maple walnut, pistachio. You're like, this is the set of flavors that I kind of like. Okay? And so girls will often say, I don't know why these are the girls I want to be friends with. I just like them. I just like to hang out with them. But at the same time, these clusters aren't like cliques. They're not exclusive. So if a girl of a completely different flavor walks by and wants to join them in the mall, they don't flip out. They're like, okay. But then they transition after that into best friends or generalists, and girls tend to fall into one of two camps. The girls who want best friends, this is when developmentally they're actually emotionally ready for an intimate relationship, but they're not ready for a romantic relationship. So what happens? They really, really aim for a best friend. This is the kind of girl where they go to school together, they have the same classes, they go to the same soccer team, they're in the same carpool, and then as soon as they get dropped off, they'll run upstairs and call each other and say, what happened? And this is the stage where they're sitting down next to each other and watching a movie, and they're like so draped all over each other that you can't tell where one girl begins and the other girl ends. And again, it's this really important developmental stage of seeking intimacy. What's really important, though, is that nobody really knows why two girls really mesh the way they do and are best friends. Even the girls can't quite explain it. All they know is they desire this deep connection, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And girls tend to internalize this thing of what's wrong with me if they can't find a BFF. And it's important that we let the girls know, just because you're looking for, maple walnut and that's your favorite flavor and, that's what's going to work for you and that just doesn't happen to exist in your current class doesn't make you unattractive as a friend. And the other half of the coin is that some girls are just wired to keep their social nets wide open. These are called generalists. And they are the kind of kids that don't really care whether they're in a group or not. They're the same kind of girls that can float from lunch table to lunch table and nobody bats an eye. And they're not designed to want that best friend. And sometimes during this stage, the generalists are often looking around like, wow, all my friends are like pairing off and I'm not really interested. What's wrong with me? And it's that thing of, no, you're just wired to not want that and that's okay. After this stage comes cliques. Cliques get a really bad rap because we associate it with Mean Girls and Gossip Girl and you name it. But cliques are actually a really important developmental stage of social development. And the reason why I say that is right around this age is when they want to disconnect from adults. Biologically speaking, and developmentally speaking, this is when they want to disconnect the most from adults. And so they want to be independent and they want to act independently of adults. But this is the first time that a teacher or a parent or a mentor isn't telling them exactly what to do. So by gosh, it is scary making decisions on your own. So what do? You gather a group of people who look like you, think like you, talk like you, walk like you, dress like you, whatever, and from that safe cocoon, you start making decisions. And you can tell that kids are trying out adult decisions because they'll be like within the clique and they'll be like, I think I should do this. What do you guys think? And they say, oh yeah, totally, you should do that. And she goes, okay. And then she goes ahead and makes a decision. It's too scary to do that independently, so she uses the clique as that sounding board. In a healthy development, what will happen is that she starts to learn through those experiments what she believes in and what she doesn't, what decisions are right for her and which ones are not, and then she's able to make adult and independent decisions. The part that makes cliques unhealthy is when they become exclusive. That the membership in the group is a weapon by which people are put down or made to feel less than, or girls within the clique are told you can't exhibit any kind of independence because then you can't be with our group anymore. And frankly, I think we even see it sometimes in groups of women, grown women, who've never sort of transitioned out of this phase. After cliques comes interest-based friendships, and this is a more adult-like level of friendship where it's not about you hang out with the same group of people all the time to do everything. Maybe you hang out with this group because you're really into science fiction together, and then later on you're going to hang out with these group of people because you play lacrosse together, and then you go, you know what I mean? So it's all based on interest, and there isn't this extreme limitations on the cross-pollination that could be. So you can throw a party for all of your various groups, and it's no big deal. And then, half grade out is the almost universal acceptance that only happens during senior year of high school, where people are like, man, I don't know your name, we haven't really hung out all of our years, but we're seniors and I love you. It happens. But typically that's the process that girls go through. Now, a caveat I will tell you is that this literature was produced probably about 9 years ago, and we're already seeing that girls are exhibiting these behaviors. The ages have been stepped younger and younger. So that, frankly, I get called into elementary school to deal with 4th grade girl cliques. So something to note is that there is this pressure in our society. Part of that gender bias is that girls are expected to mature faster in a lot of ways. Developmentally, they do mature faster, but there's this pressure for them to especially mature quickly, especially in realm of physical beauty and sexuality. So that's something to note, is that developmentally they may not be ready for these stages, but they feel this pressure to be involved in things like cliques. And it's very painful to watch little girls that really don't know what's going on act the part and not learn healthy relationship behaviors. Special considerations. I think, I feel really lucky that I was born where I was and that I had the life that I did, because when I think about girls' lives today, it's amazing. They are walking a knife's edge. And that knife's edge says, you need to be athletic and strong, but you can't be too athletic and strong because then you're a jockey and you're not very attractive. You have to be smart because good girls are good at school, but you can't be too smart because then you're bookish and a nerd, and that's not attractive. You have to be close to your friends and have lots of them, but you can't be too close. You need a little cattiness because otherwise you might be lesbian. You have to be sexy and attractive because that's what girls are, but you can't be too attractive and sexy because then you're a slut. You have to be cheerful because good girls are always happy, but you can't be too cheerful because that's annoying. You have to be confident because that's what girls are supposed to be in this girl power world, but you can't be too confident because then you're all that and you're all arrogant, and that's no good. You have to be powerful. You should think anything is possible, but you can't be too powerful because then you're bitchy. And nobody knows where it begins and where it ends. And it's defined by media, sometimes it's defined by teachers and parents, sometimes it's defined by peers who don't get it remotely as well as they do. So could you imagine walking your daily world on this knife's edge? So I just put that out there so that we have extra patience and sympathy for our girls, because I'm not sure I would be able to handle it.